Welcome to Your Number Man, where we share financial strategies, business insights, and inspiring stories to help you navigate a successful business. I am your host, Johan, and my goal is to help you achieve a bigger life in business. Today we got another segment of Bucks for Blokes. We had one a few months ago, and today we're probably going to see how it fits in. I think it's a great thing. I've got three amazing guests in the studio. I've got Brett Moffat in here. He's the CEO of Systematic, or he calls himself the chief nerd there, but he's nothing like a real nerd. I've got Ben Sparky. He runs his business, Feltis Electrical. And Luke Underdown, he owns the greatest coffee shop south of the equator in Tananda, Beans and Creams, and he runs it with his wife, Katie. So we're going to have a great discussion here. We're going to talk about business, how we started, what inspired us. Obviously, we're going to touch a little bit on numbers, issues, things, and then also we are blokes in business, perhaps who look at things from different point of views, and we want to help inspire business owners out there as well, and a lot of times blokes out there don't always have the necessary mentorship, perhaps just put it out there that there's a lot of blokes out there you can talk to help you with getting your mind head around starting your business and everything. All right, Brett, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and you've been on the show before. You are
Yes.
a cybersecurity expert, and you know a lot about AI. Our previous discussion, it's been a while now. I think nine or 10 months ago.
Yep.
We talked a lot about
myself and Raf came on
Yeah.
the podcast. Talked
we
about
talked
AI. Yeah.
talked a lot about AI, and I think AI probably has grown a lot in the last few months, even.
Oh, week by week, it grows exponentially. It's just something that continues to grow and is just dominating the market in every aspect of every business.
Yeah.
That's out there, small and large.
Small and large, and it's difficult for us to keep track of it. But if you don't keep track of it, you're gonna lose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think every business, regardless of its type or size or anything like that, has got to have some sort of idea around AI and how it is going to change both their industry and their individual business. Whether that's social media, like we were talking just before we started the podcast, is the amount of engagement you get via social media, with the amount of posts that are out there now that are completely AI-generated posts. That can be an engaging way to be able to engage with people. Creating, how do you create this content that's quick enough and engaging enough on a regular basis? Well, unless you have a media team that's sitting there creating these posts every day, every week, you can't afford to employ someone to go and do that. That's where AI can really step in and sort of help out with those sorts of things. But
Yeah. But I think what we touched on when we spoke a few months ago, I think you are a very big advocate as well as keep your business human. We got to stay human.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what I want to segue into our small discussion here as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, everyone will see AI on social media. I don't know. One of the big things that I see all the time now is famous TV scenes or movie scenes or something like that, and they've been replaced with babies.
That's right.
Giving their talk. And
Trump and Joe Rogan.
Little Trump
yeah.
and Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
doing their talk and these sorts of things. And that's fun and that's interesting and so forth. But it engages eyeballs and that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, customer service is absolutely number one. No matter how much engaging your content is, if someone walks into your coffee shop and starts to talk to people and everyone behind the counter is miserable and, got a frown on their face, you're going to lose customers every single time. And, or your electrical business, if you turn up and you're just like, whatever, as you go through your work and engagement with customers, you're not going to get repeat work. So that human interface that we have with our businesses and with our customers is so important, especially in an AI world where people are going to get more and more automated crap come at them. The customer service piece is so rare now, and training young tradies or young people as they come up to really engage in that good customer service, I think is going to be really, really important.
Because people's going to get fed up with all, like you say, all this automated crap just coming at us at a massive speed, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you must see it from a perspective behind the counter of a coffee shop, people coming in and having that relationship, especially with the locals.
Yeah,
it's the most important aspect of our business is customer service and being relational and communicative with our customers, and it's what grounds me as well. Without that, we're just an automation.
Yeah,
that's right. And Ben, your thoughts, because I know you've got this amazing thing this morning that you've actually sent to me while I was on my way from another area of town. Is like Ben is on his way, and you can actually track how Ben is driving. It's like Uber Eats, or you can wait for your Uber, which is amazing, which is fantastic, and that's making use of the technology.
Yep.
But then you also, as Luke and Brett mentioned, it's important for you to stay human.
I think in business you're only as good as the tools that you've got in front of you. So I've implemented softwares that improve my efficiency, but then also create a standard basically, and a job flow that works really well. And it goes back to customer service at the end of the day. If I can, like the text message you got on your phone earlier, it's an automation. It's like what Uber would do, I would assume. So it gives you a link where you can track my van. Where I'm going to get, when I'm going to get to your house beforehand. So that automation will come straight away when I submit in my software that I'm driving to your place, and you can track my vehicle as I'm coming. So if I'm 15 minutes away, half an hour away, and where I am at that point. So it's all about being consistent. So each customer gets that. That's important.
And we've all had tradies that say, I will be there sometime between 9 and 4. And it's like, well, bloody hell, I've just wasted, I've got to waste my entire day waiting for this random person to show up.
Yeah.
But having that, I'm going to be there in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I know that now. I can,
So
get ready.
That's what I tell
It's a brilliant value add.
Absolutely.
Comparing it to other contractors, you've got a point of difference now, and you're using AI or software or whatever it is to your advantage. Just like Uber, it's brilliant. Taxi drivers need to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a sales point as well, because I can be like, don't worry about when I'm going to come. You're going to receive a text message. You can go to a shop, go and get your groceries. You'll receive a text message, and I'll be half an hour away, and you can track me, and then we arrive at the house at the same time, no problem.
So what you're saying, you use the technology to deliver better customer service, but you still keep human. And the same with you, Luke, with your little machine that I went in there a couple of months ago, and we took some pictures of Wally, your little milk frother, little robot.
Well, Wally's about efficiency, but further to the point on using software for your advantage with customer service. An area that I'd really like to look further into, being in hospitality, is apps that you can order coffee on your phone, and the cafe can set, say, a 10-minute warning or whatever it is. So you know that your coffee will be ready in 10 minutes. You can just come pick it up, and it's paid for through the app. OTR, I've been using it for a number of years. It is the next step for local businesses, particularly in the morning rush. One of the biggest frustrations is having to wait in line, having to wait for your order. If you can get ahead of the curve, even better. And then I can take data from that. I can work out what orders are selling to what demographic. And I can also build a reward structure to better hone in on loyalty. So that's something that I really want to look further into over the next few months.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've got one in Gola as well, where I work at Chibo Coffee, which is nice. I like Chibo Coffee. The coffee's all right, but I still like going to your place.
Well, Chibo's great. You know what you're going to get
And I get
from
served
Chibo.
by your people, and they know me by name, and they say, hey, it's going to take about 3 minutes. I said, no worries at all. And my phone's in the car, and I just sit there, and I've got a notepad with me, and someone else that I've met at somewhere else walks in, and we're having a bit of a yak.
You're the ideal customer, but at the end of the day, there's school mums.
But I'm an old fart, perhaps. I don't know. That's what I like in business. But yeah, we got to keep up with technology, because you can't track my data. It's nice. You track the data, you use technology, and
it's using technology. It's not allowing technology to use you. And I'd really like to explore AI even further, because it's something I'm learning about. My milk delivery guy the other day told me about AI called Cursor, which builds it builds code, but it's built by a prompt.
Yes.
It's fascinating. So I built a very temporary website in a matter of seconds, which was functional. This is fantastic. So where can that go for your industry? By all means, do some research, speak to people who know about it.
yeah.
I think the thing with these tools, and whether it's a tracking on your van or whether it's a loyalty card, pre-ordering coffees, whatever, that's great to enhance that customer service. But if you have that technology and then the customer turns up and their coffee's not ready, or it's cold, or someone just sort of throws it over the counter at them, it still breaks down. It's all well and good telling them that you're going to be there at a particular time, but if you turn up and you're filthy and you just sort of, how you going, and there's smoke coming out of your van, you just sort of turn up and those sorts of things, it breaks down. So the human factor in what it is that we do, regardless of the technology, has to back it up, because that's where the rubber meets the road, where we actually interface with our customers. That's where we do need to have a smile on our face, and we need to be professional, and we need to understand, build rapport, build those relationships with customers. Having those locals come in on a repeated time, and that person, calling them out by name, and how's so and so, that makes a really, really big difference in people's days. And we're going to see that start to taper off as people start to lean into technology. So we've got to keep that in mind when we're bringing these technologies into play into our business, that we don't lose that human factor at the end of it.
Great point.
All right. Well, I'm just going to move the topics a little bit different. Ben, we're going to keep on this topic as well, because throughout the conversation as we're carrying on. But when you and Matt were on my show, we talked a lot about personal development. And I must say, you look pretty stoic with your beard there, It actually makes me think, and you are a lifelong learner. You're always perhaps treated as your, learning and development is almost your superpower. And it makes me think of the ancient Stoic Seneca, who said, as long as you live, keep learning how to live, which I like. And I probably see it in a lot of business out there. I see it a lot in you, because you're always embracing new learning ideas as well. What does it mean for you to self development? Is it obviously you put a big importance on that.
Yeah, definitely. As a business owner, I think it's really important to continue growing, and personal development. It's a little bit of a blank there, but it's really important, to be honest. I do a lot of coaching. I think I did my 4-year apprenticeship and I learnt the trade, but now learning how to run a business is a completely different skill set. So that's why I'm developing a lot of time in growing my knowledge in business. So
yeah, because business is a different beast.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's like they say in that book, we want to start our business with our passion. You're good at cybersecurity, or you're really good at making coffees, or I'm good with numbers. But now you're a good technician, so to say, in your field. But now you've got to be the entrepreneur, and you're going to be the manager as well.
Yep.
And that's pretty awesome.
I
Like
think
comes
from the
that,
last
yeah.
last podcast that we had together, I think like from where I was then to where I am now, it's like it doesn't even feel comparable. It's I've grown so much in a lot of different areas with software and just different systems that I've implemented as well. So, yeah.
And that's only 6 months ago. I mean, it wasn't that long that you were.
No,
You're like
no.
like AI. You're just like evolving at an exponential rate, eh?
Yeah, definitely.
That's amazing. Luke, what's your thoughts on personal development?
Without development, you die. You've got to grow.
You've got to grow.
It's as simple as that. No further comment.
Yeah, no, but, we just got to. If you don't adapt, you're just gonna.
Thoughts on personal development relating to business. Everyone talks about your why, and without your why, it's very hard to set goals and to follow those goals. No one seems to talk about the want. Business is competitive, and you have to want to achieve your goals. And it's not just about wanting to achieve the why. We are wanting to be the best that we can be. We are wanting to fulfill these goals. You have to make very deliberate decisions, and personal development is about mindfulness and being aware of the decisions that you're making. So, deliberate decisions would be key.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Really, really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and you, Brett, because you're you're learning a lot as well. I mean, you're teaching a lot of people as well about stuff.
Yeah, well, sort of being in the IT field, IT moves so fast that you have to be learning all the time. So just yesterday, I spent the entire day learning a programming technique and putting it into use in my business and automating some processes and other bits and pieces in the background. So, I dedicated a day to learning that sort of piece of technology. And I think in personal development, I think especially in small business, using other small businesses and other mentors, not just in your industry, but in other industries as well, is really important, because you can filter out all the noise and the other crap and how does this apply just to me. So a great example there is yourself and myself, Johan, is that I know nothing about numbers. Accounting, finances, it does not make sense to me whatsoever. So, I come to you for mentoring on that and sort of, okay, well, how does this apply to me, and how does this work for me, and what are the things that I should be looking at? I'm not looking to be an expert in it, but you're able to then distill that to a very small piece to make it very, very specific towards me. You're then talking about doing, your video training sessions and those sorts of things. Well, that's something I've got experience in. I can show you some of those sorts of experiences that I've had, and I can help you. And again, distill down, get rid of all the crap, and you don't need that, but you do need this and this and this, and think about these sort of components, and I can distill that down to you and pass that on. So I think that some people go, oh, I'm not a mentor because I have to be the top of my game, and then sort of coaching down from there. Whereas not the case. You could be mentoring someone while they're mentoring you, which is exactly what we're doing, and giving back. So my entire cybersecurity business doesn't make any profit. It's purely giving back to small businesses, because that's my want, is to really give back to people, because I hate seeing small businesses or people ripped off and scammed. And cybersecurity doesn't need to be that complicated, and I want to show people that it doesn't have to be that complicated, and how I can help them with that. So that's my sort of drive with that. So I'm constantly trying to develop and evolve, but also help others develop and evolve as I go along.
But in the meantime, we're business owners, so you got to bring back the bacon.
So that's it's sort of my IT consulting business.
Yeah.
And then the new education software business that I'm just starting up as well.
Yeah, we're gonna. That's great, and I'll probably want to make a little bit of a mention about that as well when we talk about what's going on in everybody else's lives as well. So that's great. And Luke, just you did mention on coaching and mentorship as well. Luke, from our discussion last time, we talked a little bit about coaching. You know, some people that really inspired you a lot. But what I also dragged out of conversation is the fact that you can tell a story. You know where your beans are coming from. You know, you can talk to people coming in. They're going to be interested. Hey, where's beans coming from? You know, was it makes me think of that story. Remember that movie, The Bucket List, where Morgan Freeman was lying in his hospital bed and explained to Jack Nicholson the story how he got his beans from. He walked, you know, somewhere in Ethiopia. The herd, the shepherds would walk around the goats, and they would collect all the little poo, because in the poos there's this coffee pits, and then they wash the pits and then they put it through the percolator, and it makes the best, excellent coffee. It's I'm digressing now, but I like the way that you tell those stories about your products as well.
Yeah, well, it's not just enough to have an amazing tasting coffee, although that's a start. If you've got a story to sell behind the amazing taste, it becomes memorable. And memorabilia is one of the most important things for advertising, for word of mouth. People will share that information with others, and it invokes return business.
And it's also like social engagement as well of like, you know, environment. How does this, you know, is it sustainably sourced? Is it ethically sourced? All of those sorts of things. It does actually tell a story, and people will get behind that and maybe pay a little bit more for it compared to just buying one from a big chain store.
Yeah, absolutely.
People care about that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the feeling as well, because I can't remember all the stories my mum told me when I was a kid, but I can still remember the feeling that she that there was, just to listen to her voice, and she talked about people on quests and slaying dragons and those kind of.
Well, I mean, even if your product is the same as the person next to you, there's that scene in Mad Men where they're trying to sell cigarettes. It's in the 50s. And all these rules and regulations are being put in place, and Don Draper works through the process of how the cigarettes are made or how the tobacco's brought to life, and the owners walking through the processes, and at some point he says it's toasted. Don Draper goes, "That's it, it's toasted." So suddenly your product is now elevated to this higher position, even though all the other products are toasted as well, because you're able to sell the story of it being toasted. So it's so pivotal.
Or roasted in your case.
Or roasted, absolutely.
You're the barista. You roast it. And as well, your stories as well, because I think we can talk a little bit about marketing as well later on. But you know, the story that you told about a little switch on the board that was starting to smoke. Yeah, that's a little story as well. People say, "Oh, that's interesting."
That's right. I like to, with my social media, I like to sort of show what I'm up to each day, because I think it's interesting. People find that interesting, knowing what people get up to. So if it's a electrical fault or something, you know, dangerous that I've come across, I'm like, oh, we can fix this. I think that's really good, and people find value in that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, stories tells.
And I think also in professional services sort of business, being a trusted advisor that's my goal with all my customers, is to become a trusted advisor. So if they've got a technical question, they're going to call me first and ask that question if I know someone. And same sort of thing, putting up all of those sorts of things on social media that you were saying, oh, look at this, you know, and this is why this is important. And this is, you know, a bad electrician came in and did this dodgy work, and now we're here to fix it. And this is why it's a good thing to have this done. All of a sudden, people build up that trust in you that you're going to tell them the right thing, that you're not going to BS them at the end of the day, and you're actually going to give them a good quality product that is the right thing for them and fit for purpose. So being that trusted advisor, especially for me, that's my sort of hook. It's, you know, I don't have IT doesn't have a story to tell as such, but But being that trusted advisor, the number of customers that have come to me and say, hey, I want to buy all this software from you at $30,000 worth of software and this and the other thing, and I talk them out of the sale, that I've actually talked people out of a huge sale. But that customer then has come back to me for services over and over and over and over and over again. So I've probably quadrupled the sale I've made on that because if I'd have just sold them that software, it would have been great. And then 6 months down the line, they would have realised, oh, man, this is rubbish and it's not good. He's dodgy. I'm not going to work with him anymore.
They're not going to come back to you.
No,
Once
exactly.
you lose that customer, like that trust, you're going to lose that customer straight away.
Correct. Absolutely.
Trust is everything. And also that you mentioned, it's important to innovate and be consistent. Hey, Luke, I think you did mention that.
Business needs change and trends are always moving. So it's important to be aware of that and where to position yourself. We've just brought in an innovation by Flurio Milk Company called Milk on Tap, which enables a customer to buy a glass bottle, fill up the bottle with milk in store, take it home, use it, pop it in the dishwasher, come back and refill.
I absolutely love it. My girlfriend and I do it at the central market.
It's got a long return on investment, but there's not a lot of money in it. But what there is a lot of money in is branding, return customers. It builds a return-based model. And we are able to tap into the environmentally sustainable model that Flurio have so excellently built. Plus, they've got great branding as locals. I mean, we were using an alternative, also premium local milk company prior to Flurio. And the second we changed, the amount of people that came in and went, wow, you're supporting the locals. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So to talk about branding, I mean, there it is right there.
Yeah.
It's
find
so important.
customers go buy something else as well, like cakes or whatever.
Yeah, that was a huge aspect.
Yep.
We'll come in, we'll fill up our bottle of milk, and while I'm here, I'll grab a coffee.
Yeah.
So,
And have you got? Well, I'm digressing now, but I said we'll talk a bit about what's new in our business. But now that you're on the topic as well, are you going to put some loyalty programs into your milk as well? Like get 10 milk refills and then.
It's on the cards.
Yeah, but you got to do that in numbers, eh?
We are in the process of incorporating with Lightspeed a digital loyalty program where it's as simple as the card that you pay with is assigned to a mobile number, and when that card has been registered as paid for this, it builds an account it builds a profile for that user. And each coffee is allocated to that profile. So once they get to a certain amount of coffees, the system will say you're applicable for a free one. So it cuts out that stamp card.
Yeah.
And we'll come up with some fancy giveaways, whether it's milk or cakes or coffees. We'll work that out.
I know with me, like whenever I go to Zambreras, I get that card, get that little stamp on it. I might get halfway through it, but then I've had it in my pocket
And it's lost.
lost it,
lose
and
it.
now you have to start again. So
Yeah.
that's amazing.
And your wallet gets too thick.
And we're selling software, like we're selling software online and everything like that. As soon as you ask people to create an account and sign up, people don't want to do it. They're hesitant. So we've seen that the customers buying our software, about 50% of them create an account, 50% of them just want to buy the product and move on.
Wow, that much?
Yeah. So in doing it the way that you're doing it, based on the credit card, you're not asking them to sign up. You're not asking them to, give away
And
their
we're
life
not taking
story.
the
and
data.
this,
We
that, and
can't
other
do
thing.
anything with that data,
No.
as far as I'm aware. But it's just automatically assigning free coffee when it's due.
Yep.
Free coffee, birthday, extra muffins for your birthday or Father's Day or
And there's no email address to spam you with exclusive offers, which just a
because you get
drowning
pain.
So technical, going back, what we started discussing is using that technology to bring in that service delivery and human aspect, sort of. So it's interesting how we work. Yeah, I've listened to a podcast yesterday on a guy explaining perhaps what AI could be, and I don't want to go into scaremongering, but it could be so scary. It's like we all like little tigers when they're little cubs.
Yeah.
So we all like them, but that's probably where AI is now. It's full. There's a lot of little tiger cubs running around. In a few years' times, we all got to be, tiger tamers or lion tamers,
Yeah.
and that's where
It's-
we need good
it's
cybersecurity guys.
It's interesting because I'm old enough to have lived a life before the internet, and then worked in the industry as the internet came along and all of those sorts of things. So the premise of the internet when it came out is going to be, isn't this going to be fantastic? Everyone's an idiot because they don't have access to information. And once the internet comes along, everyone will have access to information and everyone will be infinitely smarter and we'll get rid of all these problems. Except now we've got so much information, we've got, an overwhelming amount of information. We're right back where we started. And then we had social media come along, and social media has had such a massive impact on bringing up kids and, how our society sort of operates. AI is going to be that next phase. It's going to be that next piece. We've gone through the information age, into the social age, and now into the AI age. What is that going to look like? If you can answer that, you will be the next Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, because we're still floating around the edges of what AI can do. I think generative AI, hey, here's this thing, go and create a picture for me or go and create a story for me, and everything is great. It's fantastic, but I think it's a toy at the moment. Where things are going to be really interesting is when we start to plug that data that we collect from customers into AI and say, how can I use this data to increase my business? And have it find patterns and ways of doing things that we've never thought of. That's where it's going to become transformative for business. It's going to be massively overpowered the more data you've got. So the Amazons of this world are going to be, have way more data on us and be able to leverage that a heck of a lot more. And whether that goes to a great world or a dystopian world, I can't say at this point. But it's going to be a hell of a ride, that's for sure.
Such a powerful tool. And the question is, how will you use that tool? It could be used for good or for evil.
Yes.
And it comes down to us as humanity to use it with good intent. But at the end of the day, from an advertising perspective, and we're manipulated in so many ways that we don't even know. I was at a study about Coca-Cola coloured lids. I think I could be wrong on this. I think with the Coke Zero, when that was first introduced, they used red cap lids, and at some point they changed to black, and sales increased by an astronomical amount. So there's so many forms of manipulation that we're not even aware of.
Red means there's a lot of sugar in there, probably.
Potentially.
A great book, if you haven't read it, and I would suggest everyone that's looking at any sort of marketing or promoting their business in any way, shape or form, look at a book called Predictably Irrational. And it goes into how we as humans think choice is a great thing and how marketing does actually do exactly things like that, the difference between a red cap and a black cap, and how much of an impact that actually makes on us psychologically that we don't even think of. And that doesn't happen to me. And then when they pull out some examples in that book, you go, oh, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. So really, really good book to have a look at.
What was the title of that?
Predictably Irrational.
Predictive, yeah.
I can't remember the name of the author.
I will try and look for it and put it on the show notes, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to move a little bit away from marketing and AI and the hardcore business stuff, but let's move a little bit to the soft issues. Well, I don't know. And that's why I think, because I call this a Bucks for Blokes segment, because we as blokes, we've got different mindsets in our business. We look at stuff differently. And I don't know, Ben, can I start with you? What does success look like for you as a bloke in business? It's different than than your mates. That's perhaps not all involved in business, or your partner, or the girls, or your sisters, or whatever. It's.
You're talking about like what my why is for business, or
I'm talking about what does it look? What does it feel like being a bloke in business?
oh, okay, yeah.
Does everybody understand you?
To be honest, I think there's a bit of like ups and downs that most people don't understand relative to being in business for yourself. Some days you can have like amazing days where you just feel like you're on top of the world, you can achieve anything, and then a couple things go wrong, and then another day you're like, oh, geez, I don't even know what I'm doing here. And I think most business owners go through that at some point. And it's a wave, I think. So yeah, that's something that most people probably don't understand. But
Yeah.
it's my experience. I've had that definitely. So yeah.
And do you feel there's, well, we talked about mentorship and coaches. Do you think there's a lot of people that can associate with challenges that you go through, or we as blokes go through in our business? Is there?
Yeah, I definitely associate myself with people who are going through similar things to me. So if that's a network program that you're with or whatever, but I just feel like talking with people that understand that kind of stuff is important. And I definitely come across that a lot. So
What do you reckon, Luke?
I was influenced a lot by Jordan Peterson in my early 20s, and he wrote a book called Maps of Meaning, which surmises into the meaning of life being in bearing the greatest responsibility you can carry and carrying it uphill with a smile on your face. And it's so important, that last bit, with a smile on your face. So for me, success is achieving my goals, which is heavy, whilst wearing a smile. And, we're all in business ourselves, the listeners, likely. We know that there's financial stress, there's burden, there's the immense workload. And some days you will lose money and you think, what the hell am I doing this for? And it's important to be able to share those thoughts with people that you trust and you can be vulnerable with. Because there's a balance between vulnerability and confidence. And, for me, it's my wife, Kate. She's in this ride with me. And, we see the worst of each other. We see the best of each other. And we bring out the best in each other. And so I find it important that there's someone that we can all talk to and trust with our vulnerabilities. However, it should not be your staff. It's very important as a leader to trust in your processes and trust in your decision-making and your goals. You have to have a vision. You have to set that vision. And even if it looks like in your head that you're diverting, you can't express that frustration to your staff or to your customers. You have to present yourself or purvey a sense of confidence in your own goals. They have to be really well thought out. What Dr. Zed said in one of the previous podcasts about the Japanese bike, what was the first rule of the Japanese bike? It said...
read a manual, wasn't it?
It was, to build this bike correctly requires great mindfulness. So when setting your goals, set with
book
clear
again,
mindfulness.
The mechanics of...
It was an instruction guide to building a 1970s Japanese bike.
the Zen way of building, or the Zen way of fixing your motorbike or something.
I'm not sure on the title.
Yeah, something like that.
But so to summarize, it's important to balance your vulnerabilities with confidence.
Yeah,
and I think anyone with staff, the culture of a business starts at the top and works its way down.
Absolutely.
I've worked at so many companies in the past, and one of them, the boss called me one day and said, "We want you to be the head of culture and build up culture within inside the business." And I'm like, no. Culture comes from the top. It comes from you, boss. Like if you're not driving those sorts of messages, if you're not driving the right culture, then there's nothing I can do to shift anybody else's sort of opinion on things.
You simply can't delegate vision.
No, absolutely. And if you're passionate about your vision, if you're passionate about what it is that you're creating and getting on board with, other people will organically do that as part of it. Johan, we've talked about Steve Irwin all the time. I never liked Steve Irwin when he was first on the TV.
Love
He
him.
comes out, there's this, this, that, that. He was this complete over the top dude. And it was just like, oh, really? And then I went to Australia Zoo and I actually met him. And I became a devotee of that man. He was
it's authentic.
so it was so authentic.
See it in his eyes, yeah.
Yeah, it just
passionate.
felt, and it just came. And then from that, you were just engaged. You were just hooked. Like, whatever, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Today's society, authenticity is one of the most important parameters. Probably why Donald Trump was elected, because although he says controversial things, people perceive it as it being an authentic thought, not something that's been overly scripted.
Yeah, he hasn't got a big filter, has he?
No. Certainly not scripted, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it goes to show the importance of authenticity. And maybe that's a bit of an allocation into vulnerability, because when we're vulnerable, we're being authentic. But
there's a fine line in business as well.
it's a balance.
We can go to our mates, and not all of them are entrepreneurs in business, and not all of them might understand when we got to, have a bit of a whinge about this, because they don't understand. You're up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You work 6 days a week. Hey, mate, you should be creaming it. You're rolling cash, but
The shift doesn't end at 5 o'clock. No.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing for me, is the people that have a standard 9 to 5 type job. My partner works for the federal government, so she clocks on at 9, clocks off at 5. That's it. Her job's sort of done for the day. My teammates at basketball, they're all, have regular sorts of jobs, so they can't understand why you would not. There's a long weekend coming up. Isn't that fantastic? I'm like, is there? There's a weekend coming up.
Yeah.
Who cares? You're sort of getting on with it. And a lot of people go, well, you're working too hard in your business and so forth and so on. You shouldn't be working this hard in your business. I actually, long weekend we just had come past, and Monday sitting there, I can take the day off. I can sit here and do nothing. What do I want to do? I want to go work on my business. I actually, that's what I wanted to do. It wasn't about I had to, and you need to relax. No. I want to go do that because I really want to be and do it because it's part of my want. Absolutely. So, and
It's
I think
a
a lot of people don't get that part of it.
It's your want. Yeah.
We've been watching Clarkson's Farm on Amazon. Highly recommend it. It's a great show. Caleb Cooper said, farming isn't a job, it's a lifestyle. And I looked at Kay and went, I can relate so purely to that comment. Being in business is a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
It's not a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Yes. That's it. But, let's talk a little bit about, I don't know, am I moving away a little bit about from that issue? Let's see what's going on in our businesses, in our lives. You're building your fleet, Ben?
No, I've
You're
recently focused on a little bit more of branding. I just had this belief that everyone knows who I am, what I am, and what my business is, but most people have never even heard of your business. So I focused on a little bit more of my branding and marketing. So I've recently done sign wrapping on my vehicle, and then I've put a bunch of signs out everywhere.
I see them all the time.
Yeah, there's plenty of them around.
Very good.
And it's been good that way. But what else am I doing? I'm actually time tracking what I'm doing, like each hour of my day, just to try to find out what I'm doing and where my time is disappearing to. So I found that pretty productive. So I can sort of track and work out where I'm supposed to be delegating my time towards. So I found that very
time
instructive.
management without being a control freak. Yeah. It is important because we don't have a lot of time. I think our friend Dave from Barossa Donuts mentioned that in one.
He said he's got a time budget. He's got a spreadsheet for a
he's got
time budget, which I really enjoyed.
Spreadsheet from time as well. So that's important. No, well, that's great. So you're working, and you've also signed up to my course. Thanks for that. And you're learning a little bit more about numbers.
Yeah, it's really important.
To put that as build up that capacity.
What do you think in the electrical contracting game is one of the most important number parameters?
Gross profit per job. I think that's most important. If your jobs aren't even making any money, then what's the point of being in business? I mean, I enjoy doing the work, but you've got to make money at the end of the day as well. I think that's probably the most.
And you're very focused on back costing as well. Back costing your jobs.
Yeah. So at the end of each job, I'll go through, look at what I've quoted them, and then afterwards I'll look at what are the actual materials that I used. Did I miss a couple things? Should I add them to the next time I'm doing a similar job? And then through back costing, I can work out, okay, well, next time I've got to add this. The actual job didn't take 2 hours. It took 2.5 hours. I've got to add another half an hour to jobs that are similar down the track, so I know what I'm doing. So
And is that all done on Excel, or do you use software or
Excel? Yeah. So it's a little bit more manual. I'd love to work out a way to automate that process, but it's also good to be able to sit down, each week and crunch the numbers and be like, oh, okay, well, actually, I've just spent 10 minutes doing this, and I've worked out I'm actually not making too much money out of this type of service. So, I'm not making too much money out of a PowerPoint, but I'm doing really well in ceiling fans. Now let's divert advertising and marketing towards ceiling fans, because I know I'm making more money on that per hour than a different service that I provide. So it's really important.
Yeah, and that really focus on helping to find
I
what
think
you're good at and building your niche market.
Yeah, you've got to track everything in business. If you're not tracking it, then how can you improve? So that's really important, I think.
No, that's great. And I mean, another 6 months when we're going to get you into the studio again, would have evolved so much more exponentially.
Yeah, definitely.
And the value of data, I think people underestimate. Like you were talking about, customers coming in, you're tracking their purchases via their credit card and those sorts of things. Also tracking things like the weather, local events, what's going on in the news, those sorts of things in correlation with that. You might all of a sudden see a pattern that on a rainy day we get more orders, on a sunny day we get less because people are out playing sport or something else that sort of goes along with that. So you never know what that data is going to surface. The more you collect, the more it may seem pointless at this point, but you never know that later on down the track you plug it into an algorithm and all of a sudden you've got 10 years worth of old data that you can then look at and go, oh, now I can see this pattern. Ceiling fans are in at this particular time of the year, and
seasonal as well.
It's seasonal as well as what's going on in the news as well.
We're using a really good piece of software called Tanda, and competition like the one that starts with a D. But anyway, Tanda is a rostering platform. It'll tell you exactly what you're spending on your staff at different hourly points. But to your point, it also collects weather information. So it'll tell me if we were sunny on that day, and it also links up to Xero. So at the end of the day, I've got my end of day figures that are connected to the expenditure and filtered by weather. So I'm sure in 5 years' time, where AI is developed, that'll be a great piece of technology to summarize it all and go, okay, on these particular days, this is what happened.
It's great collecting that trends, because we gotta, always tell people look to the future, but it's great to see what the past build up that trends as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Winter will sell more cakes, summer will sell more gelato, what percentage, And then what's the profit difference of each item? Where do we need to make change? Because at the end of the day, our revenue could be the same, but we've sold more items with less profit. So the cash flow will be affected at the end of the month.
Yeah. Turnover is for vanity, profit is for sanity, hey?
But it's also knowing what the right question is to ask of AI. So, here's all my data. What do I want to do with it? So throwing it all that data that you've collected on time and this and other thing, and then asking a question like, what is the most profitable thing? What should I focus my advertising on for the next 3 months? The one that we have at the moment is, we're selling software for education. So it's a case of, okay, what are the main personas? So I asked AI, what are the main personas that I should be selling software to? And it says, teachers, but then also senior staff, and also, I don't know what they called it, senior management type staff for like an education department type thing. So 3 different sorts of areas to be able to sell at. And I'm like, okay, cool. What are the sorts of questions I should be asking teachers? Where do they go to get their information? Build me up a sales profile for these people and target that so I can start to target those messages. What are the sorts of messages I should be saying to them? And it built all of that out for me. The next thing would be to then say, well, actually, there's this particular teacher or this particular department that I'm targeting. How do I target them? What are the sort of message? What are the sort of cadence that I should use to be able to communicate with them? And it's going to look at everything else that's going on in the world and then say, well, actually, right now, the budgeting cycle for that particular thing is another 6 months away. So the best time to target that is 1 month from now with this kind of messaging. That's huge. I haven't had to be able to think about that. I didn't even know about that other data, and I'm being able to bring that stuff in. So finding the right questions to ask around your data, I think, is the biggest thing. What does this data mean? is a bit too broad, and then just trying to narrow that down. So
while you're on it, Brett, give us a 15 seconds or 30-second spiel quickly of your product, EdQuest.
Yeah, so EdQuest is a new piece of software that we're bringing out to market. And basically, it's gamified learning. So it's a way to improve student engagement with their learning. So actually trying to engage students with things. And the tagline basically is, when learning feels like an adventure, everyone wants to play. So, as a kid, I don't know about you guys, but you did something wrong. You got a whack over the knuckles with a ruler, or something. You did something right. You got a gold star. Doesn't cut it with kids anymore. They're so engaged in social media, in games. So how do we bring that idea of rewards and games into the classroom? So it's exactly that. As you finish your piece of work, you get a reward. And that reward, you can build out your avatar and get it a funny hat or get it something else. So a way to really encourage students to engage with their learning. That's going live at the end of the month for our beta testers. And then by the end of July, it'll be open for sale. We do have pre-sale values at the moment. So, the product is for sale right now. edquest.online.
That's amazing. Yeah, we've got to put our details on as well.
Well, you're right. I remember playing Type Quick as a kid.
There you go.
And the same sort of reward structures, intensity music as it became, at a cutthroat situation. But you're incentivized to get better at the task.
Yes.
That we're ultimately trying to be taught.
Correct. Yeah. And this is across all tasks. So it's going to be for science, for English, for maths, for physical education. It won't matter.
Entrepreneurial studies or numbers or business.
It won't matter. It's about any lesson that you want to learn and how to engage students with that sort of journey and that feeling, that dopamine hit of reward to get to the end of that quote unquote quest, and get that extra thing for your character.
Sounds like you're almost like incentivizing like a bragging sort of scheme where competition. Healthy competition is really important.
Yeah, so a big part of it is joining together as a team in that class. So the teacher might split the class into 4 or 5 teams or whatever, and you're trying to outdo the other teams. So you're bringing in that competition sort of side of things as well. But yeah, actually having a reward at the end of the day. I know we just sort of went, here's a paper, do the maths, good, you've finished it, completed it, and your reward is you didn't get in trouble. Whereas we're trying to, okay, there is an actual reward for this. Your goal is to get this funny hat for your character. This is what you have to do to get that, and they work through that. And as part of doing that, they're learning as they're going along. So, yeah, we're certainly hoping it's going to engage students a lot, and it's a lot of fun. So it's designed around sort of a Dungeons and Dragons type vibe with it. So, yeah, we're certainly hoping that it's going to be engaging for a lot of students. We're already selling the software in the US, which is really cool.
That's amazing. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you find the US market different to the Australian market?
Well, it's really interesting. We're not we haven't actually advertised yet.
All right.
And we're actually selling the software already, purely from engagement of teachers on different forums, so Reddit and the like. So we just sort of put some questions out there, and people are like, "Yep, that's awesome. I'll sign up now to lock it in at a price much cheaper than ongoing later on." But the US, the thing that's interesting, I think, in that segment of the market in the US is the fact that the teachers spend their own money on engagement with students and buying pens and other resources for the students. So we've got a lot of individual one subscriptions that come through. Whereas I think here in Australia, it's going to be more of targeted around specific schools, and the school takes on that piece of software. We've had a couple of inquiries from Europe and a couple of people that are interested in Europe. So we'll see as that sort of evolves over time. But yeah, at the moment, with very minimal advertising, we've
Totally.
been able to sort of hit some stuff
That's
there.
interesting. Totally different market as well. I've got a tip for you, Luke.
I'm all ears.
When I was in the US last year, I went to go and get my takeaway coffee, and because as in Australia, there's a lot of other countries, people can't always pronounce your name, and then this coffee shop said, "Okay, this week we've got our pirate week." So instead of asking they give you a little sticker and say, "You are now called R," or whatever.
Blackbeard. Or
And then they'll call out a coffee and say, "Oh, that's my coffee."
Yeah, it's fun and interactive.
It's fun and interactive, and it sort of segue into the whole edgy thing as well. Traps.
Point of difference. It's especially in the coffee game where you're selling to a customer's perspective the same product as the place next door. It's so important to have a point of difference, and if that's as simple as going Blackbeard or whatever, then consider it. We're doing a little cookie with each coffee as a point of difference.
That's right.
Because although we put so much effort into the coffee, at the end of the day, you still need to have a little bit extra.
And
than
they're
the coffee.
really good cookies as well.
The customer needs to know where their contractor is 20 minutes ahead of schedule so they can finish their shower or whatever. It's a point of difference.
And you don't get cybersecurity experts on every corner, but I think there's a lot of sparkies out there. And Luke, Ben, you really got to focus on your point of difference, what we said earlier about the ceiling fans as well.
Definitely.
Find that special task, and I think you're definitely on the right way. And the same with Luke in his coffee shop.
I think speaking over the phone and going to the customer's house and talking through it is really important, and that's where you gain your customers, really. You've got to impress them at that point in time. So, yeah.
And it is rare in the contracting game. I used a guy to clean some terracotta tiles, and I was that impressed by his customer service that I recommended him to like 4 or 5 other people. 5-star Google review. I couldn't speak highly enough of
And he's
the guy.
only doing terracotta tiles.
No, he does pressure washing and other services as well.
That's
Um,
that.
But just going a little
Yeah.
bit extra will have a huge impact.
And you'll be amazed how you can actually scale a business like that if you
Yeah.
specialize
I
in
would
something.
probably say like most of my work is
Yeah.
through referrals. So I think that's probably the same with most trade-based businesses. They don't really advertise too much, and I think that's what's important to diversify yourself as well, and that's where you grow at the end of the day. But
That's the best way of advertising is
yeah, it's
word of mouth.
pretty much
yeah.
free, but yep,
Well, it's free, but yeah,
you got to do a good job.
a lot of branding, a lot of making sure that your product is just right.
Yeah, it's doing the non-negotiable. So, what is your non-negotiable in business? Mine is, keeping it clean, doing a good job, and the standard that you walk past is the standard that you set. So, if I need to clip that cable, it's probably out of the way. No one knows about it, but I'm going to do it because that's what I want to do and do a good job. So, it might take a little bit longer, but at least I know I can walk away from that job proud, and I think that's really important.
Integrity will always shine through as well, and people will eventually see it, and your reputation will be built based on integrity.
That's right, yeah.
That's right, guys. Geez, we've got to start wrapping us up, eh? I don't know if we've covered everything. Perhaps we'll have to, do another one in a few months and track how we're all doing with our businesses. And yeah, I'd like to see how your milk business is going on the side as well. Well, that's obviously not your, but it's
Growing.
growing,
The impact we had from a Facebook community group post was huge.
Yeah.
So there's another form of free advertising for the listeners out there. Utilize your community groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting, even if it makes no money from that particular piece of it, how many other people it drags into the store and what else they buy
it
while
does,
they're there
yeah.
would be huge.
Absolutely.
And you order a coffee while you wait for your milk.
At least 50% of the people do.
Yeah. We'll grab a muffin.
It's all part of
Or
that
the
return
warmer days,
business
grab
model.
a gelato. No, it's great. I don't know. There's probably so many takeaways. Perhaps I'll ask each one of you to just give us the main takeaways out of today. My takeaway is I'm going to steal that from you, Luke. I always say your vision, your passion, and then your why and your want. So really want something. It's almost my definition of passion is what is the thing that you really want to put in. You are willing to sacrifice a lot just to keep things going, and that's how probably I feel in terms of my business. Be able to always connect with my clients and really help them to see them thrive in their business. And I like this podcast. I just want to keep that going as well. So that's my passion. Your takeaways, Ben?
Yeah, I think my main takeaway would be your network.
Yeah.
Talking to like-minded people and really building a culture that you can be around and an ecosystem that's asks the best from you and allows you to grow as well.
Great. Yeah. You got something, Brett?
Yeah, I agree with you, Johan. I think the what Luke said about the want in a business is I think it was a great way to sort of quantify it in my head that, why did I work on a long weekend? Because I wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm in this because I actually want to create something awesome and fantastic for my customers and, for students out there and for teachers to be able to engage with students. Well, yeah, that's what we want to be able to do from it. And that I think crystallized in my mind, that how to get out of bed and get on with it, when you're, on a day that you don't feel like doing it, to have that idea in the back of your head that, no, this is what I want. I actually want this.
Want is the adversary to procrastination. And for those who are struggling with procrastination,
Which is everybody.
which is everybody,
He needs a podcast himself.
tap into your want.
We're going to
Find
get him
your
on with
passion.
Dr. Z next time.
Yeah,
I
you
reckon.
literally do just a podcast just on that alone. Procrastination for me is
Yeah.
one of the worst components of my business because I got no one knocking down my door saying, I need this down right now, and you need to turn up, and I don't have customers at my front counter, and I've got to get a project done by a certain time. Does it have to be done today? Maybe I'll just. I get it done, but I could get it done a lot quicker.
Oh, yeah. Deadlines are the worst thing for me because it means that I'm doing it an hour before the deadline. So,
I
that's
love.
me.
That's the only way I can function. I need deadlines. And
then the other thing I'd say is, other than your want being the adversary to procrastination, have someone that you trust, that you can be vulnerable with, that can help you in the rut. Because as business owners, all that burden is stored up, and if you haven't got a way to express that with people that you trust, eventually you implode.
Yeah. Yes, we'll keep it at that. Luke, thanks.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks for everybody. Luke, the barista turned cafe visionary. Thanks for your inputs today. The ever growing and learning Ben the Sparky, Feltus. Yeah. I appreciate you coming in, mate. And Brett, the cybersecurity pro, and going into the educational mindset now. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Great opportunity to reflect.
Thanks anyway, guys. Thanks. I really appreciate it. And I can just perhaps add, to end it up, we all sometimes feel a little bit lonely at the top, but we've got to keep our heads without losing the human touch. And mateship's important, mentoring's important, mindset, and learning is perhaps our secret weapon. All right, thanks for coming in, and that is me signing off with Brett, Luke, and Ben, and I am your number man. Ciao.
Ciao, Bella.